My math textbook won't stop describing my house, down to the smallest detail. Practice problem. The room. Your bedroom measures 12 feet by 14 feet, with a ceiling height of 9 feet. If you wanted to paint all 4 walls but not the ceiling or floor, how many square feet of paint would you need? Hint. Don't forget to subtract the area of the single window, 3 feet by 3 feet. It was the hint that startled me, because I had once measured the length of my window with my dad, and I remembered we needed a perfectly square piece of glass, the same length on both sides. After completing the question, I decided, just for laughs, to make some measurements. What were the odds of my room matching the exact description in this workbook? My dad's measuring tape was one of the heavy-duty ones he used for his work. I weighted it down with one of my dumbbells and dragged its yellow tongue until it measured each wall faithfully. As soon as I finished, a chill creeped through me. Goosebumps shot down my legs. It all matched. The dimensions were the exact same as in my math book. As if sensing my fear, the page on my math book darkened. And it may have been a trick of the light, but the words also felt like they were shimmering? I read the next question. Practice problem. The knock. You were sitting in your bedroom when you hear a single knock from across the house. The total volume of air in your house is approximately 8,000 cubic feet. The speed of sound in air is 1,125 feet per second. Based on the sound of the knock, how close do you estimate the knock to be? I reread the problem about 5 times to try and understand what they were getting at. How could I possibly calculate this? What knock? And then I heard it, off in the distance. Downstairs. A knock. It sounded like someone had rapped their knuckles twice on wood. What the fuck? Dad? Is that you? I shouted down the hall. But no, of course it wasn't. He had left 20 minutes ago for a meeting downtown. I was alone. Hello? I could hear my voice faintly echo down the hall, and then I could hear the knuckles rapping again, much harder. I shut the door to my room and put my back against it. Do I call the cops? What do I tell them? That there's a knocking? I paced back and forth, focusing on my breathing. Relax. It's probably just a neighbor knocking at the front door, or a Jehovah's Witness or something. I live in a safe neighborhood. There's something perfectly reasonable that explains all of this. I took a hard look at my grade 9 workbook. The pages were so crisply parted open. It's as if the book was trying to invite me back. It demanded my touch. I grabbed my pencil and scribbled in my answer. The knock is approximately 30 feet away, 1 floor below. I tried to close the book to end this schism, this crazy paranoia once and for all. But I couldn't touch the paper. It's like there was some kind of magnetic field now repelling me. The hell? The math page darkened and absorbed the lead I just added. Right below where my pencil had just been, a new question appeared in a thin, scratchy font. Practice problem. The visit. You have been chosen. A Euclidean primitive is coming to your destination, and you must give it your most valuable dimension. Which one will you forfeit? My panic returned, full blown. What the hell was this? In a blind haste, I tried to kick the book out of my room, but my leg was deflected. It's like the air around the book had become bouncy, pushing anything away with equal force. I was about to try wrapping the book with a blanket when the knocking returned. Right at my door. I screamed and lunged for my baseball bat under my bed. The door to my room was still closed, but I could sense there was something hiding behind it. Something that did not belong in my house. With a white-knuckle grip, I poised the bat for a strike. I tried to sound commanding, but could only squeeze out a quivering, Who's there? Who the fuck's there? The knob twisted, and the door drifted open with a slow, unceremonious creak. I watched as the painted white wood swung open and revealed nothing. There was nothing standing in my hallway. In fact, there was less than nothing. My hallway didn't exist. Instead of wooden floors and gray baseboards, I was staring into a sort of mirror image. I saw a copy of my bedroom on the other side of the door. My bed, my window, and even an identical version of my math book were lying on the floor. Everything that existed in my room existed reversed in that other room, too. Well, everything except me. I seemed to be the only living person between these two rooms. Keeping my arms glued to the bat, I peered around the corner of the door, and as I did, there came a weird cracking noise, kind of like glass breaking. It crinkled from the doppelganger bed in tiny bursts. I stared through the doorframe, bat at eye level. Hello? Something spoke back, replicating my voice. The words sounded like they had passed through several glass tubes.
Hello?
My entire chest tightened. I held my bat high. What is this? Something glistened above the inverted bed. I could see the sheets rustle as a weight lifted off the mattress.
This is this.
A set of shifting mirrors came toward me. Hovering cubes and other prisms had formed into the rough, anthropoid-like shape of a person, but they didn't render any texture. The entire surface area of this being was a mirror, reflecting all the inverted wallpaper and backwards decor of my control-copied room. Holy shit! I backed away. Feebly, I tried to close my bedroom door, but the mirror golem stuck out one of its prismatic hands. In the blink of an eye, my door became paper. The 2 inches of thickness to my door suddenly disappeared. It's like the 3-dimensional depth had vanished. The Euclidean primitive then grasped my paper-thin door and crinkled it into a ball. Oh, God. All I could do was run into the corner behind my original bed. Please, no. Go away. The matter-destroying math thing came into my room and stared at me with its mirror cube face. I could see a perfect reflection of my own terrified expression.
No, God,
it said. Warm liquid streamed down my leg, trickling into my socks. There's no point in hiding it. Yes, I pissed my pants. Please, take whatever you want and go. I took a quick glimpse at my math book and saw that a new line had appeared. Hint. Forfeit a dimension. I looked back at the mirror golem and pointed at the book. You want a dimension? Go for it. Take the book. Take all the dimensions. The Euclidean primitive walked up and stopped at the foot of my bed. There was something menacing about all the warped reflections on its body. Ceiling stucco on its shoulders, TV set on its chest, and the underside of my bed on its legs. It was like an all-powerful extension of my room. It could control my reality. Its prismatic hand raised up, then pointed at my face.
You pick.
I didn't understand. Was it asking me which dimension I wanted to lose? My gaze shifted to my crumpled paper-like door in the corner. If I lost my depth like my door, I'd become as flat as a cutout. In fact, if I lost my width or length of any dimension, the result would be the same. I'd become a 2D slice. A skin flake. There's no way I could survive that. That was death. Then, out of nowhere, my stupid cat meow alarm went off on my phone. The digital clock reminded me to water the kitchen plants. But I was also reminded of something else. I pointed at the clock mounted above my bed. Time! That's a dimension, isn't it? The mirror entity stared at me, unmoving. Take time. The 4th dimension. Take as much as you want of it. The Euclidean primitive turned to face the clock. Its mirrors began to glow.
Time.
I swallowed a grapefruit down my throat, hoping this might save me from becoming a dead 2-dimensional pancake. Yes, please, take time. Take all you want. I mean, there's lots of time to go around, isn't there? I thought to myself. The prismatic golem outstretched its mirror arms, which produced a fierce, bright light. The white bounced off the walls. It became all-enveloping. I shielded my eyes.
Time.
My dad screamed when he first saw me. I was standing at the top of the stairs, waving to him normally, but instead of beaming back with a smile, he threatened me with a knife. What's going on? Dad, it's me. Who are you? Where's my son? There was no use trying to reason with him. His confusion was perfectly understandable. Answer me! Where is my son? I'm your son, Dad. It's me, Donnie. For a moment, it looked like he could almost believe me. He could almost believe in the far-flung possibility that his son suddenly looked 80 years older. But that possibility very quickly flittered away. His face was a mask of disgust. "You sick fuck! Why are you in my son's clothes? What have you done?" "Dad, please, it's me, Donovan." I watched my dad's eyes fill with a fury I had never seen. He stomped up the stairs, sleeves rolled up on his sides, ready to stab or strangle me. "We watched football together, Dad. We just watched a game 2 nights ago. The Dolphins game, remember?" "Stop it!" My dad pointed at me with his knife. "You fucking stop it! Right now!" I hobbled backwards, feeling the pain in my lower back as I fought against my old man hunch. I went into the washroom and cowered in the bathtub. The reflection of my new, wrinkled, white-haired face terrified me almost as much as my dad did. Through snot and tears, I pleaded for my life. "It's me! Please, Dad, you have to believe me." 10 nights in jail. 10 full nights. The amount of growing up I've had to do over the last couple of days has been staggering. At one point, the police were threatening to get me committed, which I knew meant going to the place where I'd be in a straitjacket all the time. And I really didn't want that to happen. But on the 11th morning, my dad showed up and suddenly dropped all charges. My assigned officer told me my father had no further interest in this case, that he was very distraught and didn't want to jail an elderly man who was clearly mentally ill. My dad had practically begged them to let me go. And so they did. The moment I stepped outside of the police station, my dad grabbed me by the shoulder and apologized profusely. Over and over. The words were soft, quiet little murmurs. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I've since been allowed back into the house, where for the last 48 hours I've been resting in my old room, slowly getting my strength back. My dad has brought me food, helped me shave my beard, and dress in a clean set of pajamas that must have belonged to him. It's still too soon for words. My dad mostly just rubs my head and hugs me each time he visits. Sometimes he cries quietly to himself. In between one of his coming and goings, I went to the washroom and took a peek inside his study. There I saw blueprints for some building contract he'd been revising for City Hall. In the upper left corner of the diagram, I saw the same thin, scratchy, shimmering font I saw in my textbook, which meant my dad had been talking with the Euclidean primitive as well. Practice problem. The absolute value. A father must choose between the son that was, x equals 15, and the son that is, y equals 91. This equation allows borrowing time from the father, z equals 55. Hint. How many of your years are you willing to loan? And that was My Math Textbook Won't Stop Describing My House, down to the smallest detail, by Eclosion K2. This is, it's really funny that we actually had the story kind of went in this direction, going heavily into geometry and dimensions, because just last week's story, we also mentioned a bit about at least my idea of higher dimensions and how that might explain certain bizarre things, right? And it's really funny that, that's come up a fair bit here, but it also includes a lot more about the geometry side of things, which is quite interesting. But I'm not exactly a mathematician. I'm not the best when it comes to understanding all those things. But I'll try to break down some of the concepts a little bit here. So it's amazing because yet again you have this. We have this Euclidean primitive, which for those of you who don't know, Euclidean is literally it's relating or denoting the system of geometry based on the work of Euclid, who is an ancient Greek mathematician who is considered the father of geometry. His name is Euclid, that's why Euclidean. And the idea of a primitive, though, does kind of go a little bit different. I don't know if this is exactly what they were going for, but there are primitives in geometry, right? Which is referring to the fundamental undefined terms or concepts upon which the entire system of geometry is built, such as points, lines, and planes. But I don't think that's exactly what we're going for here, but I feel like there is a little bit of truth still to this, because this, I suppose we'll say creature, entity feels a bit more appropriate in this scenario. This entity that works in a mirrored plane of existence, which makes me think of the countless different things, including even the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Doctor Who, Star Trek. There's countless stories and shows and movies, even books, comics, you name it, that use this idea of a mirror universe as almost like a parallel universe. In some cases, they might call it something different, like a Bizarro thing, but Bizarro is usually a bit more evil and twisted and weird, not exactly always a perfect mirror. But in other cases, they look at a mirror universe as like it's an alternate timeline, right? Where basically things are similar, but, some choices were different, therefore leading to different conclusions. But in other cases, it's sort of just a reflection of your own universe and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we have this entity in this mirror universe, as I like to see it. Or I suppose mirror dimension. I don't really know how you want to... I think mirror dimension is a little bit more appropriate, which I don't quite understand that exactly. But yet again, it's not like I fully understand the concepts of everything I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm just merely intrigued and interested. And this creature... this entity is, it clearly found somebody it could play with, right? And it's able to steal a dimension. Which, I think the worst part is the fact that, it could have even stolen physical dimensions. Now, that is horrifying in a concept, really, because, imagine you're going all the way from, what we're used to as reality, right? Where we're living in 3 physical dimensions. And then, like I said, you got the time dimension. That is technically a dimension according to science, but, I don't know the full semantics behind all that, so I'm just telling you what my understanding of it is. But if he had chosen to lose one of the physical dimensions, like you said, it literally would change his entire fabric of reality as well, and pretty much probably die. Because it's you would become basically as thin as a line, right? That's the whole point. It reminds me, yet again, I'm not going to go too much into the Michio Kaku book I mentioned last week. I'll pop a little link down here if you want to go a little bit into that. And in there, he specifically talks about this world called Flatland, which, yet again, it's a hyperbole. And the point is, it's talking about 2-dimensional creatures, how they exist in 2-dimensional space, and if they were to encounter a 3-dimensional creature, they wouldn't see it in 3 dimensions because they cannot comprehend 3 dimensions. They would see it as lines. They would still see it as a 2D concept. Which means they're not getting the full picture. If, say, a 3D creature went through their 2D space, they would see it almost like lines in like those flip books. Imagine something like that, right? Except it's like slowly going through, and the animation would be of an entire 3D creature, whatever, was going through their space, right? If that could be comprehended. And so, yeah, to downgrade from 3 dimensions to 2 dimensions would be a death sentence. It would be horrifying. I know, I wouldn't pick it. I wouldn't pick it at all. I would have also done the same. I would have absolutely gone with time, sacrificing time, because, yeah, you're still going to die, but at least you don't die as quickly. No matter what, all choices in this are bad, but at least time is the least bad out of all the choices that you really have. I can't even imagine. That would be... Well, what a horrifying thought. What a horrifying thought for a really interesting story about a creature, entity, dimensional being that is probably... It's just so... Oh, I hate it. I love it and I hate it. God. Oh. What dimension would you give up? What dimension would you give up? Honestly, I don't think you could choose anything besides time. Maybe there are other dimensions we're not even fully aware of. I totally could understand that concept, but then how would you define them? Right? Anyway, moving on. The story's quite good. I've got to bring up some comments that are in the story right at the bottom because some of them are a little interesting, and I thought we want to kind of cover them a little bit. So Huwu Minamino says, "I wonder if you could write a math problem of your own in order to get back to your youth." It almost feels like we're talking about magically writing in a book to make things happen, right? Which would make me think of not quite Death Note, but that's one of the first things that pops into my head about the fact that you can write something and something happens. Except in that case, it's you write down a name and they die. But the first thing I thought of. And Eclosion says, "That is a good idea. Some kind of equation that can help lose at least 20 to 30 years. When I have the strength, I'll have to consult my math book. I'm really afraid of looking at it, but maybe if I face it together with my dad, we can figure something out." That's quite interesting. And then there's one more thing I'd like to bring up here. Another interesting comment that is going to teach us a little something today. I know, I certainly learned something. No Communication 7 said, "Should have tried shooting it with a theodolite. If your dad's an architect, he might have one or a similar instrument. Might be worth a try if the primitive comes back." And Eclosion says, "Had to look up what a theodolite was. But yes, my dad does have one of these. This might be a good defense against primitive." I also had to look up what a theodolite is because I was like, well, first off, that word sounds made up. which, I mean, all words are made up, but whatever. And no, it is a real thing. And I don't know how you would shoot something with it, but I just don't understand what it is. Although, I think it's really cool. So, a theodolite is a precision or optical instrument used for measuring angles in both horizontal and vertical planes. Crucial for surveying, civil engineering, and other applications requiring accurate angular measurements. So, it sounds like a very good measurement tool, but of a variety of uses, right? I suppose that could help you defeat a geometry primitive monster. I have no idea how that would work. But yet again, as I said at the start of this, I'm not a mathematician. I don't really fucking understand some of these more complex, concepts, especially when it comes to math. As much as I enjoy the concept of physics, that doesn't mean I fully understand it. Yeah, and as I said, it reminded me of things like Star Trek has a kind of mirror universe. It gets brought up like once or twice. It's really not brought up much. Doctor Who has mentions of a mirror universe, and I think there was an episode a long time ago where they end up imprisoning the Master in some kind of a thing, but that could have been Star Trek. I really don't remember. I couldn't find it, but the little weird square mirror-looking thing that they're able to kind of fling off. It's supposed to be a prison. I if somebody knows exactly what I'm talking about, please let me know what it is, because I don't know the term for it. I just remember the imagery, and I remember them talking about it being a prison that's like really inescapable and stuff. It was really cool. And then, yeah, like I said, also a more popular one recently is Marvel Cinematic Universe. Doctor Strange can do stuff in the mirror universe, which is, yet again, it's an alternate reality that they can do stuff there that will not affect the real reality, blah, 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 blah. No, this has been really good. I've really enjoyed this story because, yet again, it makes me think a lot. It's really bizarre. It makes you wonder if it's the only Euclidean primitive out there, right? There can't only be one. It's not like he's a god. He even said no god. But, 'tis just a story. I have been Nate at Night, and I have really enjoyed reading this. Thank you, yet again, Eclosion K2, for this awesome opportunity. I really hope that everybody's had a really fun time with me. I know, I sure have. And we will catch you for whatever's next. Take care out there. Thank you to the YouTube and Patreon members who've been supporting this channel so far. This has been a fantastic effort. Thank you so much. I couldn't do any of this without your support. Really, I really can't. Thank you. You can also show support through a donation at coffee.com/nateatnight, or whenever I'm live streaming through super chats of YouTube or through Twitch. And whenever you donate, I'll be sure to read your messages out on stream.